All right, so let's just say, hypothetically, you win the lottery tomorrow.
Yeah.
But there's a catch. You still got to work. But you can work from absolutely anywhere in the world. So where are you jetting off to? Beach, mountains, maybe somewhere completely off the grid?
You know, it's funny you say that because a lot of people, even without that lottery win, are setting their sights on Marbella,
And
Spain.
Marbella.
Yeah. It's on the Costa del Sol.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's always been known as like this luxury destination. But what's really interesting is that it didn't just like survive the pandemic, it actually thrived. We're going to be diving into an article today that takes a look at this kind of crazy real estate boom. We'll be figuring out what made Marbella so resilient and also kind of what's next for this little slice of paradise.
All right, so you've got me hooked already. I'm ready for this deep dive. And speaking of diving in, the article hits us with a pretty mind-blowing stat right off the bat.
Mm.
In 2022, property sales in what they call the Golden Triangle.
Ah, yes.
That's Marbella, Estepona, and Benavides.
For those playing along at home.
Exactly. So sales in this Golden Triangle shot up by 20%. That's not just a little blip on the radar. There's a full-blown surge, especially when you consider that a lot of markets were, let's say, a little shaky at best back then.
It really is kind of bucking the trend when you think about it. I mean, the pandemic caused so much uncertainty, right? People were holding on to their money. Nobody knew which way was up.
For sure.
But in Marbella, it seemed like the crisis actually made it even more attractive.
So what's the secret sauce? What made Marbella so different?
Well, the article digs into the why behind this, and it seems to boil down to three key factors.
Okay, lay it on me.
So first up, space and privacy. Think back to those early lockdown days. Everyone was suddenly stuck at home 24/7, daydreaming about things like a bigger kitchen, a home office that wasn't just the dining room table, maybe a yard for the kids to actually, run around in.
I can definitely relate
Yeah.
to that.
Right. And Marbella really delivers on that front. The properties there, they're known for their spacious layouts, the private gardens, pools. It's like having your own little personal oasis. Now, the pandemic didn't create this desire for space. People always wanted that. But it definitely put it front and center, and Marbella was ready to meet that need.
Makes sense. So what's factor number two?
Number two is something we've all become very familiar with, and that's remote work. I mean, if you can work from anywhere, why not choose somewhere with incredible beaches, amazing food, and like sunshine almost every single day of the year?
Yeah, I mean, over 300 days of sunshine.
Exactly. It's not just a fantasy anymore. It's a real possibility for a lot of people now.
It's like that whole work-life balance thing got flipped on its head.
Exactly. Companies were basically forced to adapt during the pandemic, and I think a lot of employees realized, hey, I can be just as productive, if not more so, outside of that traditional office setting. Suddenly, Marbella, with its beauty and its, laid-back vibe, it started to look less like just a vacation spot and more like, hey, I could actually live and work here.
So it went from dream vacation spot to, I could actually make this my life.
Right.
Okay, so we've got space and privacy. We've got the rise of remote work. What's the third piece of the puzzle?
The third piece is all about stability, specifically investment stability. When the world gets unpredictable, people naturally look for safe havens for their money, right? And real estate has always been a classic go-to. But it's not just any real estate. We're talking about locations that have this track record of consistent demand, that high-end market that people trust.
Yeah, I mean, you want your investment to hold its value, especially in times of uncertainty.
Exactly. And Marbella already had this reputation as a highly desirable location, and the pandemic, in a weird way, it kind of just reinforced that. People saw it as a place where their investment was safe, even when things were going haywire everywhere else.
It's like the crisis kind of highlighted Marbella's strengths.
It's true.
So you've got this perfect storm brewing.
Yeah.
People craving more space, a better lifestyle, the freedom to work remotely, and the desire for a safe and stable investment. Suddenly, Marbella isn't just for the rich and famous. It's this potential haven for a whole new wave of buyers.
And it's crazy. This wasn't just some temporary blip. The momentum, it kept going even after those initial pandemic shocks. Like in 2024, luxury property sales in Marbella were up almost 20% compared to pre-pandemic levels. That's a pretty strong sign that something big is happening.
So like the pandemic was the spark, but the fire's still burning.
Mhm.
What's keeping this real estate rocket soaring?
Well, the article dives into a few reasons why Marbella isn't just surviving, it's absolutely thriving. And the first one is all about the buyers.
Yeah, what about them?
The buyer pool has diversified.
So it's not just the same people who were buying before.
Right. It's not just one nationality driving the market anymore. You've got buyers from all over, Scandinavia, the U.S., the Middle East, all adding to the mix. This makes the market more stable because it's not reliant on just one group. It's way more resilient.
It's like spreading the risk, so to speak. Okay, diversified buyers, got it. What's the next reason?
This one's pretty basic, but it's a biggie. Supply and demand.
Ah, the classic.
Turns out there simply aren't enough properties being built in Marbella to keep up with all this interest. So what happens? Prices keep going up.
Makes sense. More demand, less supply, prices climb. So is Marbella just not building enough? Or is there something else going on?
Well, construction in Marbella is subject to some pretty strict regulations, and part of that is to preserve the natural beauty of the area.
Or they don't want to just build skyscrapers everywhere?
Exactly. So you've got this limited supply coupled with skyrocketing demand, and that's the perfect recipe for prices to keep climbing.
Okay, so diversified buyers, limited supply. And the third reason keeping Marbella's market hot has gotta be.
Remote work. Even with some companies trying to push that hybrid model, that genie's out of the bottle.
It's true, there's no going back.
The flexibility to work from anywhere, at least part of the time, is here to stay. And that means Marbella remains a really, really tempting option.
Especially with all those perks we were talking about. The beaches, the sunshine, the food.
Absolutely. And it's not just a vacation spot anymore. It's a place where you can build a life, have a career, and still soak up that amazing Mediterranean lifestyle. It's a pretty powerful combination that's pulling in a whole new generation of buyers.
So it sounds like Marbella's not just riding this wave, they're actually like anticipating it, getting ahead of the curve.
Oh, yeah, they're playing the long game for sure.
Well, we've talked about the why, now let's get into the what. The article spends some time painting a picture of what makes Marbella so appealing, especially for those who can work remotely. And we're not just talking about the obvious stuff.
Oh, it's more than just beaches and sunshine, although, let's be real, those are pretty fantastic perks.
Over 300 days of sunshine, did I mention that?
You did. But it's also the lifestyle, the culture, the feeling of community.
The article actually quotes someone who made the move to Marbella, and it kind of sums it up perfectly. They say, the ability to work from a place that offers both tranquility and vibrant culture has been transformative. Marbella provides the perfect balance.
It really captures this idea that people are reevaluating their priorities. It's not just about the hustle anymore.
Yeah, they want a life that feels, well, good.
Exactly. They want a place that nourishes their soul, not just their bank account.
So we've seen how the pandemic kind of kickstarted this whole Marbella real estate boom. But what about now? I mean, we're further away from those lockdown days. Things are kind of settling into a new normal. So what's the outlook? What's the future hold for Marbella?
Well, the article actually makes some pretty optimistic predictions for 2025, even with more and more companies going that hybrid route.
So even with people maybe going back to the office part-time, Marbella's still going to be a hot spot.
It seems that way, yeah. And there are a few reasons why. For one, Marbella has been seriously upping its transportation game.
Like what kind of upgrades are we talking about?
Think better roads, high-speed rail lines, direct flights to major cities across Europe.
So they're making it easier to get in and out of Marbella.
Exactly. It makes commuting much easier for those folks who do need to be in the office a couple days a week. So even with hybrid work, Marbella is still a viable option.
They're not just sitting back and hoping for the best. They're actually planning for this new reality.
Right. And it goes beyond just transportation. They've also invested in the kind of infrastructure that remote and hybrid workers need. We're talking co-working spaces decked out with all the latest tech, lightning-fast internet. They're making it so easy to plug in and be productive, even if your office overlooks the Mediterranean.
I mean, that doesn't sound too shabby.
Not at all.
But let's be honest. The infrastructure, it's great, but it's the Marbella lifestyle that's the real draw.
100%. People are craving a better quality of life, and Marbella delivers on that front big time. The sunshine, that relaxed atmosphere, the sense of community, it's hard to resist.
Speaking of community, the article delves into some interesting changes in the types of buyers who are heading to Marbella.
Oh, yeah, it's not the same crowd as before.
So who are these new Marbella enthusiasts?
Well, you see a lot more younger entrepreneurs and digital nomads. They're drawn to that lifestyle, that flexibility, and hey, maybe even the favorable tax regimes. They're bringing this new energy to the city, starting businesses, creating a buzz. It's exciting.
So it's like Marbella's becoming a hub for this new generation of global citizens.
It really is.
But it's not just the young and tech-savvy, right? Didn't the article also mention an increase in families looking to settle down in Marbella?
Yeah, definitely. And the prices in those prime locations, they've gone through the roof in the past few years. Seems like families are putting a premium on lifestyle, on a good environment for their kids, and Marbella checks all the boxes.
And with all the international schools, it makes sense. Families can have it all, right? A beautiful and safe environment, great schools, and that flexibility for the parents to either work remotely or, pursue their own passions.
It's a pretty sweet deal, you know? And while British buyers have historically been the big players in the market, it's way more diverse now. We're seeing more buyers from Scandinavia, the US, the Middle East. It's a real global mix.
Speaking of global, the article highlights this company called Elite Villas Marbella. They specialize in luxury real estate, and wow, their services are next level.
Yeah, they seem to be right on the cutting edge of this evolving market. They offer this unique blend of high-end properties and really advanced technology.
So it's not your grandma's real estate agency.
Not quite.
Just to give you an idea, they have access to over 175 villas, and get this, they're worth over €1 billion. Billion with a B.
It's a pretty exclusive portfolio. It gives you a sense of the scale of the luxury market in Marbella.
Yeah, that's like a whole other level of real estate.
And the thing that really caught my eye, they have this AI sales agent.
Wait, hold on. They're using artificial intelligence to match buyers with properties.
Yep, they use AI.
That's pretty wild. It's like taking personalized service to a whole new level.
It's amazing to see how technology is changing even the most traditional industries.
And wait, there's more. They're also the first Bitcoin-friendly real estate agent in Marbella.
Oh. Oh, yeah, did you see that?
So you can actually buy a villa with Bitcoin.
It seems so.
I mean, that's incredible. Talk about being ahead of the curve.
It really shows you how forward-thinking they are, catering to those buyers who are comfortable with digital currencies.
So it seems like what started as this deep dive into Marbella's real estate market has actually revealed something much bigger, like a shift in how we think about work, life, and where we want to live.
It's true. The pandemic, it didn't create these trends, but it definitely accelerated them.
Yeah.
And Marbella is a perfect example of a place that's not just adapting to this new world, it's actually thriving in it.
The article even suggests that Marbella's market is going to stay strong, even as more companies adopt these hybrid work models.
Yeah, it's fascinating. They're not just riding the wave, they're actively shaking it.
So what are they doing specifically to stay ahead of the game?
Well, for one, they're making strategic investments, thinking ahead to what people will need in the future. They're creating an environment that's appealing to a whole bunch of different buyers, not just one specific type.
So they're not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Exactly. They're diversifying, just like the buyers themselves.
And let's not forget, we've been talking about this whole shift in mindset, people prioritizing their quality of life.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just about the money anymore. It's about finding a place that aligns with your values, where you can actually, live a good life.
And speaking of values, the article brings up something that's becoming more and more important to buyers, especially for those younger generations.
What's that?
Sustainability. It's not enough to just offer luxury and convenience. People want to know that the places they're choosing to live are environmentally conscious, that they're thinking about the future.
Yeah, it's about more than just a fancy villa.
Right. They want green spaces, clean energy, sustainable practices. They want to invest in a lifestyle that's good for them and good for the planet.
And it seems like Marbella's got that in mind, too.
Oh, yeah. They're definitely not ignoring that trend.
They're investing in renewable energy, promoting eco-friendly transportation options, and really focusing on preserving those stunning natural surroundings. It's not just window dressing, it's a real commitment.
It's a pretty holistic approach, which makes sense considering the values of these new buyers we've been talking about. Those entrepreneurs, the digital nomads, the families, they're not just looking for a place to park their money, they're looking for a community, a place where they feel like they belong.
It's more than just buying a house. It's about finding a place that shares your values, your vision for the future.
And it sounds like Marbella is doing a pretty good job at fostering that sense of community.
From what I've read, yeah. There's this real welcoming atmosphere, this sense of openness that draws people in.
It's kind of like they're creating this global village in the heart of the Costa del Sol.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the Marbella real estate boom, what are your main takeaways? What stood out to you the most?
Honestly, it's the way all these different factors are coming together to create something really special. Like the rise of remote work, that desire for a better quality of life, the focus on sustainability, and the creation of this diverse global community.
It's like they're all feeding into each other, creating this perfect storm, but in a good way.
Exactly. And Marbella's right there at the center of it all.
This deep dive has definitely given me a fresh perspective on Marbella. It's so much more than just a playground for the rich and famous. It's a place that's evolving, changing, and showing the world that it's possible to have it all: luxury, meaning, and a real sense of belonging.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So for anyone listening who's ever dreamed of escaping to a place with sun, beaches, and a vibrant international community, Marbella is sending a pretty clear message. Come on in. The water's perfect.
And hey, who knows, maybe the next time we do a deep dive, we'll be recording it from a villa in Marbella.
Now, that's a goal I can get behind. But for now, we'll just have to keep dreaming and maybe add Marbella to that travel bucket list.
Sounds like a plan.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Marbella's real estate scene. We'll catch you next time for another fascinating exploration.